cancel the 3% across the board.
Are we live?
Starting
live.
at 6 p.m.
Good morning. The Finance Committee meeting is called to order at Wednesday, May 1st at 9:40 a.m. All members are present, that being Alderwoman Finlayson to my right and Alderwoman O'Neill to my left. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okey dokey. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes of yesterday, April 30th.
Move approval of 4:30 meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, that's good. At this time, we'll start deliberations. As discussed yesterday, our goal is to address 6 departments. I guess we can go in order of the report. And let me call it up. I apologize. So I think I saw fire first, but where did we leave off?
Yeah, fire's the first one I did, and it's the first one on the list. Banneker Douglas. So which, I don't know. You have to
Okay.
go back to your, okay.
Finlayson Dunn, did you write that? I saw that
I'm
this
sorry.
morning.
I'm sorry?
Did you write Finlayson Dunn?
I did, because I wanted it to be clear that it is done. Yes.
Okay.
So I just gave a little introduction, and all of this I lifted straight from the presentation. I inserted this, our service to the community, because I thought it was important that the community hears how many calls for service, how many EMS encounters, et cetera. So that is this whole section that is uncharacteristic of other departments. Not that they couldn't have similar statistics, but I just thought that since fire gave it to us, and it would be of interest that we should include it. Then went into the good news, and again, we've heard those things. And then the challenges, would be the construction of the stations, mental health, training, for all of their employees, but everyone, and then accreditation, increase in accreditation. And the only recommendation was that and I made this assumption, we haven't talked about this, but to fully support the goal of providing suicide prevention workshops. I thought that was the previous one, but I guess not. So that is the only recommendation that I came up with. You may find others from their presentation.
That last bullet point, the gain the Commission of Fire accreditations.
I'm sorry?
The last bullet, gain the Commission of Fire accreditation, that sentence is not finished. It says, we will examine what is.
Yes, you're right. Well, actually, it should end at certification, gain the Commission of Fire Accreditation, International Certification, period.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know we're going to give this a last look, but the first bullet under challenges has begun to be updated in lieu of bean gun.
Caitlin, can you also fix the font size on those?
Are you fixing it?
It's like two different.
I thought you would go back and change the font on all of them as
Yeah.
opposed to doing it piecemeal. So I didn't, and even the point, the font, not the font, but the size, because some of them are 12 point, some of them are 11 point.
I'm gonna change the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
So I'll be, so we agree, are you all okay in this particular department to list their service to the community?
Do we have the same type of list for police and OEM?
OEM,
I know that we finished OEM yesterday, but it would,
thinking
as
public
those three,
safety?
public safety, does it make sense? I mean,
I think because of the, I'm sorry, you're done. The budget, if we're looking just at the numbers and the allocation of funds, police and fire are the big ones. I know your logic is life safety, but if we look at the big pieces of the pie, I would propose that we try to do police as well.
yeah, that's what I was asking, like if
But
we have
it's not
similar,
necessary for OEM, I don't believe.
okay.
But you probably did do police as well.
Well, police did not provide us with this
Oh.
type of data, but I am sure I could get it. And the last bullet under that, our service to the community, is what they collect in fees, fire marshal fees. I thought that was important.
I do not know what ESPP is. Do we need to spell that out? Emergency something?
Yeah. I don't know what that is either. Like I said, I lifted this directly from his presentation, but I will find out momentarily and fill that in.
So,
Okay. And then the second, oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say, Jody, I assume that you agree with these numbers. They came right off of their presentation.
So,
I get, I always like to double check numbers with you.
Jody Dickinson, Finance Director. I don't know that we've gone through everybody's presentations in their PowerPoints and confirmed the amounts they put in there. So no, I have not confirmed those amounts. And there are some, when we do see them, we're not sure where they come from. So they do not share us with that. We typically get it the day before and we don't have time to check it. So if there's a particular amount that you want us to check on that you're putting in there, we'll be glad to, or do you want us to go through this entire draft report and check all your amounts?
This is what I'll ask, only because they're substantial and maybe they'll be easy to find.
Yep,
This is the only one we're gonna,
the ESPP payment,
under fire department. If you go under our service to the community, there's EMS fees collected. We probably don't need the 89 cents. And adjusted fees collected. I think you need to concur with those numbers because they're very substantial.
and you were saying
I
that
think we should
this is
ask
in
where
this,
these numbers come from the department head.
it has to do with the ambulance
conflict.
billings that we collect, and
They should match, you should.
they should.
Yeah.
And I will go through and try to confirm them with what I can see in the general ledger. Jeannie and I and the chief work very close together when we're doing the ambulance billings and audits and whatever, so I'm sure they're correct, but I'll go check
It's
it
a
for
big
you.
chunk of revenue. And could you add the fire marshal fees? Is that hard to find? Fire marshal fees collected.
Again, I'm sure Jeannie is the one who created these numbers for the PowerPoint because she tracks all of that data.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
all right.
Madam Chair, I don't want to put more work on the finance director. Are you asking her to just reach out to Jeannie to confirm these numbers
Yeah,
that
these
Jeannie
numbers-
gave us?
Yeah.
Or are you asking her to go back through all of the data and that she's collected in finance and come up with the numbers?
In our budget, in open.gov, these line items are probably in there because they're revenue sources. I don't think she needs to go back to Jeannie. I think they just need to check the budget is published, so they just need to check their respective line items in
So-
the budget and make sure that they match.
Yes, in the
In a
next,
perfect world, these numbers should have gone to finance. I'm just verifying.
yeah, so I will check, I will do two things, check in the records and check with Jeannie to see where she got, I'll probably be able to tie them right out knowing Jeannie.
Yeah.
But I was gonna tell you that it's the Emergency Service Payment Program.
Oh, okay. That's what it is?
Emergency Service
Put that in
Payment
there.
Program.
The ESPP, Emergency Service
Payment Program.
Program.
Payment Program.
Okay.
And then we need to take a look at the second bulleted item under challenges.
Wait a
I
minute.
think
Let
it's
her-
2.
Hold on, let her catch up.
Oh, sorry. I thought she could type faster than that.
And then when we, I don't know, how, you know how I can get weird, do you have any feeling about the numbers not going into cents? Or just being the same format? No big
Yeah,
deal.
we can take off the 89
We can
cents.
do that.
Since we took off the 3 cents.
Yeah, we
the
did
other
that
day.
up above, so where are you? Caitlin, okay, could you go up above and just get rid of the 89 cents and make the 0 a 1? I want to shortchange them. Okay, and then down at the fire marshal fee, just get rid of the 2 zeros for consistency. Okay. Okay.
You know, that speaks to their level of accuracy,
Absolutely.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, no. Yep. That's why I'm positive they're in the budget. Okay, what was the challenge?
The second bullet point, it just looks like there's 2 challenges that maybe are running together.
Oh, I can see suicide, additional. What's that?
That's what you're talking about, Tanya?
Yeah, well, that's wrong. I don't know that needs to be corrected.
Do we want to keep this part?
No, that's what I was looking at.
Take it away.
Yeah. I'll go back and look at the presentation to see what I may have missed in the cutting and pasting.
Yeah, it's funny how it always comes back to these capital projects.
Well, these aren't, only the first bullet speaks to capital projects.
Yeah,
The others are more program-based.
right. Yeah, I was looking at the fire stations. It seems like that's been going on forever.
It has been.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think these are great.
So are you fine with the recommendation for the suicide prevention workshop? Okay.
Can I have this is picky, but under the good news, could we move the bullet, continued safety record of no fire deaths since 2010? Can we move that to second after maintained ISO 1 rating? It's pretty huge. I mean,
Yeah.
that's big stuff, so, okay.
And 2010 was the family, wasn't it?
I would even make that number 1, actually. We're rating these of order of importance. ISO rating is important, but, you know, the actual act of public safety is.
Yeah, which gave them the ISO rating, essentially, yeah.
Well,
well, it's
if you're
part of
listing them in order of importance, so.
Are we going to have any discussion about the fireboat?
Where is that? That's in, where is the fireboat?
It's in fleet
Okay.
replacement.
Oh. So theoretically, that's under central services now, then?
Well, it's still its own internal service fund.
Under a department, or
We treat it, so you know how like the sewer fund is in its own enterprise fund?
yeah,
Fleet operating and fleet replacement are their own internal service funds.
Madam Chair, if we're going to have a discussion about the fireboat, I'd like to have the fire chief and Mr. Dan here to answer questions about the impact
let's see if I don't know how where we put,
I mean, if we're going to leave this process and,
I was just asking if this was the place to, if it's not the place to discuss it, then before we complete our deliberations, I would just like to have a discussion about it.
yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. Where in the budget book that's
Where's fleet in the budget book? It's under central services.
is the fireboat itemized anywhere? How do I know about the fireboat? I know I'm a little brain dead here, but. So it isn't in the budget right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
it's in fleet management, is that? Ms. Conley, is that what I heard you say?
Budget Manager Connolly.
I'm sorry?
Budget
It's in-
Manager Connolly.
It's in the fleet replacement fund.
In fleet replacement?
Correct.
It's called out on the fleet page, isn't it?
I'm looking for it. I
Yeah,
don't
we're
see it in the
looking for it.
page specifically,
Okay.
but it's included in that capital outlay number. We've highlighted it in our kickoff presentation,
Yeah, that's right.
and I'm looking for.
And well, fleet replacement.
So I'm going through our massive spreadsheets. Just give me a
Thank
couple.
you, yeah,
Sorry.
just, to be, the revenue is coming from,
So we're using for the fireboat in particular. We're using ARPA to fund
Okay.
pay for it.
that's what I thought. And, it's probably then in, I don't know, you guys do better than I.
So we also, if you're looking, there's a transfer in the general fund non-allocated going to fleet replacement.
Is it on page 15 somewhere? No.
No, because that's one-time use and that's capital reserve.
Yeah,
So we've also, let's see. There's the one-time use and ARPA and capital reserve tracker that we gave you all. It's in the shared drive. That'll highlight it there. I don't see it highlighted in the central services section of the book, but I can tell you it's included in that fleet replacement number.
and where is that fleet replacement number?
Yep.
In the budget book?
It
It's by fleet
is,
operations, fleet replacement, on page 14.
so you want to go in the central services section? It's going to
Oh.
be page 53.
Okay, okay.
Fleet replacement, it's part of that capital outlay number of 3.6.
Okay. That really should be broken out, because it is,
Well, it contains all of the, so the total amount that Danny can use to purchase is 3.6. So that would be, fire, police, all the funds are included in that 3.6.
capital outlay for.
But I can
fleet
give you the
replacement.
breakdown of that 3.6 if that helps. Like what vehicles he's proposing
Yeah, if
to
the
replace.
fireboat is in there.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be great.
Yep.
Just so we know what we're talking
Sure.
with. Alderman Finlayson, the chief gave a really convincing argument when he was here. I'm not sure what you need him to come back for.
Well, I would just hate to have a discussion about this without his input, because I understand that there is a perception that there isn't adequate service needed for another fireboat, for our fireboat, especially in light of the fact that Anne Arundel County has just purchased, I think, 2.
3.
Neither of which are in close proximity to us. Galesville and, I forgot the other area. I feel he would give us some additional information. If we're going to make any sort of recommendation, I would just like to have him in the room, and as well as Mr. Dan, and I keep forgetting Dan's last name,
Based
so
on,
that we can make decisions based on all of the facts.
based on the fact that we somehow got additional knowledge of fireboats in the county, it would be helpful to hear from him on that aspect. You know, that's new information that came after the budget that he didn't address in the presentation. So, is there any way we can get him first thing in the morning tomorrow, or sort of late notice today? We're trying to go through the departments.
I will text him.
What do you think about that? I should have asked you.
He's probably watching, they all are.
They all are. I just was wondering if we were going to have a discussion about it. So
I'm glad you
I
brought it
wasn't
up. We
making any
would've-
recommendations.
Yeah.
I just wanted,
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up, because technically, we probably should have talked about it under central services, and when, right, and it's in this part of the budget, and I did not.
Madam Chair, I thought we did talk about it ever so briefly, but in light of the fact that the county has acknowledged that they are getting new boats, things seem to have refocused it back on our boat.
Right,
So,
okay. So where were we? Fire department.
they can come now, he and Dan, if we
Okay.
want to have this
Yeah,
discussion
let's-
later on, or
Yeah, let's do that.
you want them to come now?
Sure, it cuts into either today or tomorrow, so sure, if they're available.
Well, we have a report that we're working on. I would prefer we finish the report as much as we can, and then speak to them in the morning.
Because it's a recommendation or not. Yeah.
But I think it's important that we move forward with our report.
Okay,
We only have one day. I think most of it will be done today.
well, we have the full day tomorrow. We have DPW, Transportation, Recs and Parks. Anyways, the remaining from.
I was not trying to derail. I was just asking where it was appropriate to discuss it.
Oh, I know.
Because
It's
I know
already-
that there are other council members who are interested in
Right.
the discussion.
Right.
So even if it's at a later date and not today or tomorrow, I was wondering where it was appropriate.
Okay. So we would not take action on it then? Alderman O'Neill? Is that what you're suggesting? As you said, what you just said. and what
Where
we-
is it where it is appropriate. I know that other council members are interested, so if it was appropriate for us to discuss it, to make a recommendation or not make a recommendation, take any action whatsoever,
Okay.
then we could talk about it. But if we needed to wait so that other people had the opportunity to ask questions, I don't think bringing them in right now makes sense, because the other council members wouldn't have an opportunity to pose their questions.
So you're asking them, you're suggesting that he doesn't have to come in, you'd rather have him present to the city council?
Or at least let the council know that there's an opportunity for questions regarding that, and he's coming in at X date to discuss that.
Okay,
So,
let's wait till the end.
okay.
Yeah.
So am I telling them they're coming?
They don't need to come
He
in.
responded by text that they are available now. Do we want them tomorrow, or do we not want them tomorrow?
Alderwoman O'Neill?
I move that we have the discussion about them at the end of today's, after we've gotten through the other reporting, and decide whether we want them tomorrow or at another time when other council members can be present.
I'm not hearing all of what you're saying. Do you want them to come at the end of today's meeting?
No. At the end of today's meeting, we can discuss whether we need to have them come in for tomorrow during deliberations before we complete, or whether it's more appropriate to have them come in front of full council.
Okay, thank you. Louder is better. I'm sorry, my hearing is
Okay.
not great.
So, we're already behind our average of 30 minutes, of how many, we have a 12:45 hard stop today, so let's try to keep within that window here.
We're good.
So of these other five, let's just go down, right. I think it's, so we're leaving that just with a check on the numbers. All right, good job. Recs and Parks.
Recs and Parks, without making it a 4-page,
Without what?
without making it a 4-page regurgitation,
Yeah.
I tried to pull out the good news as far as the updated program software, because I think that that is huge. As a person with used to have small children, my biggest frustration was that that was the only camp that we couldn't do online for ever and a day, and I am excited to see online registrations. Their membership increase was also good news. The number of sports programs they're offering, and then the Greenscape projects. As far as challenges, I put their fees, altering the fee schedule at city-owned properties, Stanton Center, and I believe
The field. Oh,
the field and the, what is the other community?
The Annapolis Walk Community Center, Pitt Moyer,
well, so,
Truxton Park,
yeah, we want to,
Pavilions, and Pool.
I don't know why that was all kept.
Community Center. Annapolis Walk Community Center. Oh, she's typing it in. That is the actual title, Annapolis Walk Community Center.
Can I just say various fields or there's specific fields? Williams Wayland is the, comes to mind. Are there specific fields that we should be mentioning?
The pool and the Truxton Park pavilions and all rental.
do we want to just generalize?
Yeah.
It's getting a little long.
Right.
Why don't we just say city? How does she refer to them?
In my notes, I just had
Community Center.
fee structure,
Under
new
Annapolis
fee
Walk.
structure, and then she went through the fees. But it would, thank you for, I couldn't get my cursor to move, Kaylin. And then I have programming, the other challenge was programming and funding for performers and vendors. It should say
And
vendors.
that's under, that's Arts and Public Places?
No, that was, she said DJs for things like
Kenny
teen
Dunn Pool.
events, some of the other
Yeah, she has,
activities,
right. Okay, just to be clear.
right? It seemed to be performers for things happening at Pitt Moyer, so,
Yeah, and when you, people,
and
I
vendors.
don't want to say input more, only because when people hear performers, that's all that, AIPPC does, right, So, they mentioned challenges. She mentioned challenges, I don't know, it could be in upgrading their facilities, but that's not an operational cost. I assume that's in probably capital. I'll have to look at that when I finalize capital projects.
They had, yeah, and they had a $1 million capital improvement project to go from to move from a trailer into
Yeah.
a actual building, $1 million capital budget. For the main building, currently, they rent a trailer
Yeah, so it's a challenge,
for
but
parks.
yeah.
Yeah, the park service.
we could bullet that and just say see capital budget, because in capital budget, I have to be honest, there would be a list of 1,000 challenges, so I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna go there. I was gonna summarize it sort of the way Burr Vogel did, the ones that have gone over budget. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Are you going to reference where you want them to see it in the capital budget?
No, that's good. I think that's good enough. It's all in one place. I mean, page number, I don't, yeah.
You trying to get it in parentheses?
No, it's just trying to put a space between the two.
Okay.
It won't do it.
So capitalize M for membership.
Oh, yes, and capitalize the M.
Yeah,
Capitalize the budget.
M up under bullet number 2 under good news.
yeah.
Was there anything else that you wish to?
Well,
Should we add the positions that they're asking for, but those have been funded? There's 4 positions that they're getting funded for.
yeah, in that case,
Would they be under good news or challenges? I mean, those are the categories that we're using.
yeah, I don't know if we want to get into,
I say we don't add them. That's why I didn't add
yeah,
them
I
before.
don't think we want to go there. And, yeah, I wish, 2 is huge. I mean, no, which one is huge? 3 is huge. I mean, she has done an amazing job reaching out to disadvantaged kids. I don't have any data or anything, but if that could be embellished at all, but it's fine. 96 sports programs, that's pretty incredible.
And you can't say that that's, I mean, that also includes pickleball,
I know, yeah.
basketball, all of the sports camp, so you can't say it's, I don't know if it's quantitative, if they know the number of disadvantage versus just offering programming for sports.
Oh,
I know they have baseball
Yeah.
team, the soccer team.
yeah. Oh, on that bullet under challenges, Caitlin, what I meant to say is upgrading facilities. How do I expand on that? What did she say exactly? She has a lot of ideas for upgrading facilities, and some of them have to go through council, et cetera, and it's a challenge, but can somebody help me with English there, if you want to?
How about just upgrading facilities, see capital budget for various
okay, good.
projects?
Well, I think we
Keep it
need to
simple.
make reference to the Stanton Center, because that's the primary upgrade that she's looking to do.
Put in
so-
parentheses, Stanton Center.
Yes.
Oh, right here.
No, before the,
Right here.
yeah.
Okay, is this where we want to address AIPPC?
Address what?
AIPPC? They're under Parks and Recs. Theoretically, they didn't present. Is there any concern there? I really would like to,
That is a can of worms.
I know, I want to say financial oversight of AIPPC, based on the state funding they get. So how do I say that? I think it's really important. That's sort of that money we're giving them as a pass-through, that's not ours anymore. Transparency and accountability from AIPPC. That's all. And
Is this under a recommendation?
no, I was offering it as a challenge.
Lack
Oh,
of transparency?
Yeah, then it would be lack of transparency.
Why wouldn't we make that as a recommendation?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking from what you just said at the beginning. You had the right word. Okay,
Just
so
simply say,
Yeah.
improved
trans-
transparency with AIPPC.
say financial transparency. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, second.
PC, another P.
Arts and Public. Or should I write with
Mhm.
Arts and Public Place Commission and then put that?
I think you could, they're pretty well known as arts and public, as AIPPs.
Yeah. We've been doing that, though, for some acronyms that are more than 3 letters.
Sure.
All right. Gosh, what else? Williams Wayland, anything there? No, that's capital. No, just, oh, I lost my page again. I should have done what you guys, I should have put my sheets behind the department.
Well, you mentioned Williams Whalen. I have that, and I wasn't here when Director Vogel presented the CIP, but I would like to see an expedited timeline on Williams Whalen.
Apparently, because they're looking at the artificial fields, it actually adds to the timeline.
I understand there's still that discussion as to whether it's going to be an artificial field or not.
The director is pushing for the artificial field because
and I've
of
had that
continued maintenance.
I was going to actually list that as challenge under capital projects, because that was one that he spoke of almost most.
So what's the challenge that,
Well, we can talk about under capital projects. Isn't that where you want it to
Yeah.
be?
The challenge is
I
that-
made the comment that I would like to see it here
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, under
under recommendations, that the improvements on Williams Whalen Field be expedited.
yeah, because that is an operational decision, so yeah, it can be here.
We
and
can
then-
discuss it further when we get to the CIP.
Yeah.
But I would like to see that as a recommendation for Recs and Parks. And I have had Williams Whalen Field,
Yeah, that's how I handled,
WEEMS Weems.
yeah. I'd like to keep doing that. I mean, under
EEMS,
respective,
WHALEN.
Yeah.
Sorry.
now, if there's a challenge with a project or something, we should, if we can, put it under the respective department. I'm doing that with DPW under, for capital projects in general, so, yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna, right? Do you agree? That's,
Yeah. Did,
she actually spoke of that during her presentation, so,
And she and I have spoken at length outside of discussions about that.
okay. Okay.
Should be renovations or improvements to Williams Whalen Field.
Now I'm confused, because one thing she spoke of a lot, okay, she spoke of it, was all of these requests for street and park maintenance. She's got a challenge with maintenance. Do you agree? So, and that's regarding staff. So I would propose, I don't have a recommendation, I think that's a challenge on allocating staff to street and park maintenance under a challenge, under challenge.
There is an increase of 3 staff people to that department. And where are they being placed?
Recreation leader 1, recreation leader 2, and maintenance worker.
And so what is their role? And do we know that that is or is not associated with Street and Parks?
No, recreation 2 is creating therapeutic recreation programs.
Maintenance worker, what am
Maintenance
I seeing?
worker
Maintenance
would
worker 1 is
be partially
increased.
under parks.
No, street, it's, street, just say to park maintenance, basically, because it's, you know, do I have them focused on Truxton Park, which is humongous, or do I have them focused on street and parks? Yeah, that's good.
So I'm seeing an increase of 1 staff person in Parks.
3. Recreation leader 1, recreation leader 2, maintenance worker.
Should have like 5 pair of readers. I don't know what I do with them. I know it's here somewhere. All right, any other notes? We good?
That last bullet, I'd like for it to say, to expedite the renovation of Wims Whalen Field. Just expedite, not to expedite.
So I'm getting a nasty text from AIPPC. What is that? I usually don't check my text while I'm here, but that one was nasty.
Uh-oh.
Who is?
What does it say? Are we good with the notes on recreation and parks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do we want to move into the next one?
So the next one is the mayor's office. Okay.
I don't understand what the first good news is. Enhancements to include cost of
Yeah,
mailers.
That's not really,
Exactly what is that?
that was a task. I don't know if that's good news. To get the community survey out, they did mailers.
So
you
shouldn't we
can
say
change
that?
it.
That doesn't say much.
Yeah, just, good news is that they got out Vicki might be able to help us with that. The mayor's office, the good news is that they sent out mailers for the community survey, which resulted in increased participation.
Actually, this enhancement
Unless you were trying to say something else.
is not for the community survey, but that's a good.
Oh,
This enhancement is for the,
wait a minute,
Yeah, the outreach money, yeah, that's for the noise ordinance, to be able to do outreach to businesses and households, making sure they're aware of the upcoming implementation date for that.
So are we increasing or improving communication with the community through mailers about activities that are available or services that are available or whatever we're doing?
past legislation. or-
Yeah, I think, increasing communication to ensure that residents are aware of changes within the city, including changes to local ordinances.
By using mailers and such, because this is above and beyond the press releases.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, it's individual outreach.
yeah. Aware of
Right.
legislative changes and,
Enhancements, including legislative changes.
Aware of the legislative changes?
Whereof,
The changes?
well, what did we just,
What you just
Well,
said, what you just said.
Let's dial it back to what you wanted to say, Karma.
Communication to-
well, we're just trying to clarify, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to take it back
What
to
do you-
where it was, then,
You want to emphasize the fact that they are mailing stuff?
In their presentation, they emphasized the fact that one of their enhancements was funding for mailers to better communicate with city residents.
So how do you want to translate that into good news? It's,
Are we saying aware of the legislative changes?
no, take all that out. Everything I said, take out.
Added budget allows for enhanced communications with the public. Mailed in communications.
added budget for mailers, et cetera. You have to say for what? I mean, it could be
Yes,
added
for
budget for
mailers.
staff or,
I really can't hear.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to,
I know.
go for it. Alderwoman
She
O'Neill.
can't hear you. Could you speak up? We can't hear down at this end, period, so bear with us.
So adding funding to enhance communication with residents through mailers regarding important city projects.
Okay, I would question projects, right? I mean, the mailers are for what?
The mailers are
for
going
noise.
to be for the noise,
that-
noise ordinance, the mailers are going to be for the plastic bag.
City initiatives.
There you go, city initiatives, great.
So the good news is adding funding or increased funding to enhance.
Yeah,
Increased is great.
yep. Yep. This is good because we all have different perspectives to offer, that it makes a good sentence.
And the same thing would be, well, I don't know, we'll hear what that means. Adds funding for Hispanic Community Service Specialists. We've had that position for years. So what's different this time?
Actually, it's two positions now. It's the Hispanic Services and the Navigator. So they actually added the Hispanic Community Services Specialist into the mayor's office budget.
Okay, and could we say why it's under good news or translate into a good news?
Hispanic Community Services Specialists we have had in the past. The Navigator, I believe, is the new position.
According to their staffing summary, the Community Service Specialist is the new position.
Because
Oh.
the Hispanic liaison went to the city manager's office, right? At the time?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so adding funding for a Hispanic liaison to increase our relationship with the Hispanic community.
There you go.
I said that too fast, but
The Hispanic liaison.
Nope, Hispanic Community Services Specialist. To provide a liaison,
Would you say after specialist?
to provide a liaison to the Hispanic community.
Still not comfortable with the word adding.
yeah.
Added funding. I mean, if we're. I'm sorry, Vicki? Reinstated.
There you go. Reinstated.
We never lost it, however, did we?
It suddenly became 2 positions within the last budget cycle.
So we increased the staffing to create a position. I'm not asking you to write any of this down, just added funding, I guess, is probably gonna be sufficient.
Okay, let's make it good news, because somebody's going to look at that and say, what's so good about adding funding?
To provide a liaison for the Hispanic community.
Is that,
Just say we added a Hispanic community liaison, we don't have to say funding. It's obvious, if we added a position, we had to have
Yeah.
funding for it.
How about to provide a better connection with the Hispanic
yeah,
community?
that's all I'm trying to say. To provide it to, yeah.
An enhanced
An
connection.
enhanced relationship connection to the Hispanic community.
There you go.
Yeah, keep it positive.
One of the things that I put as challenges, I don't know if we want to keep as challenges, but I found it challenging to be that in salaries and benefits, we were over budget or projected to be over budget.
Do we know what's causing that? It's just challenges to how do we translate that?
I didn't
into
have in my
challenge?
notes what caused it. It was just what I was reading through when I was reading through the budget book.
Ms. Dickinson, can you help us out with this?
So what's the one you're talking about?
Mayor's office.
Um,
And when I look at the salaries and benefits, the FY 2024 adjusted budget of $1,050,000.
Mayor's office.
Page,
Salary and benefits is going, projected to be over budget.
page 37.
They were wondering,
Could everybody speak into their mic and just pull their microphones up close or something?
He's talking to you guys.
Huh? He can't hear.
He can't hear you, that's what it's.
Yeah.
Your question was in regards to the projected salaries and benefits in the mayor's office going over budget?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
It's about 90,000.
Yep. So we have a meeting on the 7th with the mayor's office. There might be, because there's a lot of programs in that office, it might be one of two things. Our projections are over because we are incorrect, rather, because we projected at the beginning, what was it, January, I believe it was. So we may have taken something and annualized it when that's not the true nature of the cost, right? So we are redoing our projections now to look at where they're going to land. And then we have a meeting with them on the 7th because this is what we saw, right? We couldn't meet up between creating this and the time the budget was done to figure out what was going on. They feel, the last I spoke with them, they feel confident that they're going to be within budget. So this could be an allocation between, like, for example, if they're no harm folks are being, we have them budgeted in supplies and other, but their actual costs might be hitting higher. So it might be a reallocation between accounts that needs to happen.
Okay.
Sounds like a huge challenge that needs to be stated to manage accountability of staff appropriations or manage staff appropriations.
So I've listed it in our report as a challenge in that it's over budget, but worse, Alderwoman Tierney is suggesting that we rephrase it as it is a challenge in,
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I just,
Allocating staff, sorry,
I,
you raised your hand.
I have two, yes.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ms. Collins.
It's,
Sorry.
so it's, for example, when it comes to no harm, we budgeted for that in '24 in contractual services or supplies and other, so not a non-salary line. But when HR creates, agreements for these individuals, their actuals are actually hitting salaries and benefits.
Right.
So then we need to figure out from a budget, reallocate, revise the budget appropriately. So that is what could be happening here.
Yeah.
There might be individuals tied that doesn't match where the budget is for them.
Allocation.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Staffing, keep it general.
So our challenge is
With
the allocation of staffing against contracts.
Well, staffing and contracts.
I guess it's more of the budget versus where the actuals are, right?
Right.
Right.
So, and again, too, I just want to be transparent that this could actually be an issue with our projections too.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's not a challenge that we should be listing in our report.
Yeah, I think it's more internal. You know what I mean? Like it's something that we need to figure out. Finance
Okay.
and the mayor's department needs to figure out.
Okay. All right. As I was doing my report, I was going through, and the ones that I was going through, I was looking at the proposed budget or the, adjusted budget versus projected, and that one just seemed to be much more out of line than other
Sure.
line items in other departments.
Sure.
So that's why I wanted to, seemed to me a challenge if we were actually going, but it sounds like that perhaps it's not a challenge for this report. Because we don't know what we don't know right now.
I think there's too many unknowns to make a statement.
Okay. So we will
Respectfully.
remove that challenge. Thank you.
May I?
Oh, yes, Alderwoman Finlayson.
It sounds like there are programmatic thrusts that have stretched their budget. And if we're going to put anything in here, I think it should be from that perspective, not just they're over budget, but we're talking about an increase in programs. And those programs have to be implemented by somebody. So maybe that does stretch the budget, or, as Ms. Connolly said, it may not. So, do we really need it? It's gone.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the $70,000 in mayor's community initiatives? Page 37. It looks like it's a one-time
I believe that was answered
ongoing program.
That's a-
Goal.
questions.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yes.
assist. Those are reoccurring programs every year. So like Day of the Dead, it's more like community outreach kind of stuff.
Okay, so it is ongoing. Like-
Yeah, it's since I've been doing the budget, it's been
Okay.
it's been included in their budget.
So is that staff time or is the programs themselves? It's under,
I think Assistant City Manager may want to respond.
Vicki Buckland, Assistant City Manager. So the programs that that had been started under the Hispanic Liaison, like Taco Fest and Day of the Dead
Sure.
and things like that, even though the people moved essentially into OCS, like Ismania moved into OCS, and actually her time got charged there as well, but the program dollars never left the mayor's office. So in reinstating that Hispanic liaison position, one of the things you don't see in there is movement of programming dollars back to the mayor's office because they never actually left. And it's that kind of stuff. It's charges for the actual events and stuff like that.
okay.
So did we actually get the list of the programs that make up this 70,000, regardless of where they are? I have a note, and I have OEM. Would Director Simmons have that? That's my notation to that line item.
Certainly for the items that are associated with Hispanic liaison, I can provide that. I can provide that to you. I would I'd have to get with Katie and others to make sure that it's a complete list.
Thank you. Madam Chair, how does the first bullet under challenges differ from the first bullet under good
Well,
news?
It actually contradicts, because we're saying it's good news that we've reached out, but the challenge here is saying.
There
yeah, why
is
don't
a
you
challenge.
explain? You explain.
$25,000 pays for one. So it's paying for the noise ordinance. But as projects and programs continue, there are challenges for mailing the entire city.
Okay,
So it is a challenge. It's a good news in that we added 25,000 for one of the mailers, but it's a challenge that this does not cover the plastic bag ban if it goes into effect.
additional costs necessary,
Yes.
So are we talking about an increase in funding for mailers to reach
Well,
every resident?
They've absorbed the cost, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, the challenge is the cost is increasing. Every time there's a mailer, it's 25,000, full city.
Right.
So regardless of whether it's plastic bags or Greenscape, if there's a mailer to everybody, it's 25,000.
Okay. May I suggest that we, again, it's translated into a challenge. A challenge is managing, help me out. Managing,
Rising cost of
yeah,
print and distribution.
right.
Is it rising cost or is it simply an increase because
Managing-
we're not accustomed
Yeah.
to doing these full city mailings on a regular basis?
Managing necessary costs for community outreach via mailers, et cetera.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I said it fast. Yeah, we don't want to default back into,
Managing necessary costs for,
Would you say, managing necessary costs for?
citywide mailers or,
et cetera, for, regarding new programs, projects, and initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything to say? All right, I'm going to read a paragraph from their budget book and see if you guys are happy with the way that they're handling this. I'm being devil's advocate. It says here, the community specialist engagement staff oversee One Annapolis outreach and liaison, especially to underserved communities. The team consists of a senior advisor to the mayor and an African-American community service specialist who oversee two community programs, the Naptown Anti-Dope Movement and the No Harm. Part-time contractual staff are also engaged as needed to deliver community services under these programs. These roles are often grant-funded. Our community engagement mission is to be inclusive in city services and outreach and to reach untapped potential in traditionally underserved communities. They're losing a person that is in that paragraph, right?
Yes.
So how much credibility is, this sounds like that's a really important person, and the fact that it's not, I don't know, there's a lot of people there, and it would be great. It should be translated into good news. They're serving underserved communities, right? But I can't.
what is the issue you're trying to address? we have a community specialist and engagement staff,
That
and they
person
have
is-
several responsibilities as
Yeah.
outlined in this chapter.
Right.
In this paragraph. So what is it that you want to say about what the mayor is doing?
Well, let me first be correct in saying that that person is not, yeah. If you look on page 36, all of that, right?
I'm reading the same
Yeah,
paragraph.
exactly. But if you look at the staff chart, that community engagement administrator is gone. So how are they going to staff this effort?
Well, maybe Ms. Buckland can help us, but most of these staff wear more than one hat. So who is the community specialist and engagement person, or who are they?
It is, can we speak to that, personnel like that? Can we talk?
Community
mention names?
engagement administrator,
That person is going into
Transportation.
transportation. And
that's an assumption, but
I,
Well, they're pulling it off of this staffing.
yeah, it's gone here.
Zero. It's
So,
added on transportation.
yeah, it was the,
there's no reduction in staff.
yeah, it's one, it goes from one to.
On page 36, there's no reduction in staff.
We are removing the community engagement administrator, which is 1 in FY '24, 0 in FY '25, and that
That's all I'm talking about.
individual is going into transportation as a pedestrian coordinator.
Yeah, they added the Hispanic and they're taking away the community engagement administrator. So all my concern is how do we, challenge is continued service to the underprivileged, continue to provide continued outreach and liaison to underserved communities by absence of a community engagement administrator. I'm talking slow like that, not because I'm angry, I'm just talking slow. Did you get that?
One more time.
Okay. Continue, challenges, continue community outreach and liaison to underserved communities with the absence of a community engagement administrator.
See where I'm- easy, right?
Continue community liaison to underserved communities with the absence of the community engagement administrator. Do you agree?
Yes. So who's the manager?
Right, because they speak, this is all good stuff.
What?
So, I mean,
Yes, I do agree.
Yeah.
You didn't ask, but I do. agree.
and you will agree with that because you are.
It's a minority thing, I know, I got it.
No, what? No, it's, you brought this up because they did a transfer without city council approval.
As they can,
Okay, you had a problem with that the city council wasn't informed. So I'm concerned that they're taking away this person and just shifting them to transportation. And this leaves a gap in that very important effort of servicing disadvantaged community.
I agree. I don't want it to be personal,
No, it's a
And,
position. That's why I said
well-
I don't want to mention names. It's a position.
but it's
a
pretty
si-
transparent that, so anyway, I'm fine with it. Let's just leave it as it is.
Okay, I'm just looking at this job in the mayor's office continuing, because it's super important. So they're gonna have to realign their staff to keep this going. That's,
I'm willing to bet if Ms. Pettit were here, she would say that, or Ms. Buckling can speak to the fact that they've already realigned the department to fit what they have put in the budget. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe they have not,
yeah, see, I don't.
but
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not sure I would agree with that. I think so from just completely speaking from my own perspective, I think the challenge for FY25 is that you've got, with the Hispanic liaison position getting reconstituted within the mayor's office, there is coordination that needs to happen and sort of definitions about where OCS ends, where do the programs within the mayor's office start.
Okay.
And I think that there's the challenge for FY25 is to figure out what that coordination looks like, how those programs work together productively. And that is not work that's been done now,
Okay.
right? That's work that's ahead of us for FY25, assuming that those recommended budget changes get approved. But that's not work that's
So it
already been
sounds-
done.
It sounds like OCS is taking on, and that was not the intent of that office.
Correct. I completely agree with that. And I think that again, speaking completely from my own perspective, I think this is why reinstituting that Hispanic liaison position explicitly is helpful, because I think it helps to create some clarity around kind of where were certain things supposed to live and who's responsible. And but that coordination work, I think, from my perspective, is the challenge of FY25.
May I, because of your concern about this, I don't want this to be misunderstood at all. I think we should then delete this, revise it to say, this is a challenge of how to align reduce staff to the mayor's office initiatives. That's it. That's all I want to say. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They got rid of one person. And so how are they going to realign the staff to continue these initiatives? That way it doesn't focus on just the one Annapolis outreach. Because they've got the Hispanic outreach, and They added a staff member. They're deleting a staff member, so they do need to realign. That's a challenge. Do you agree?
Yes, how to realign office staff to continue mayor's
Do you agree in keeping it
office
general?
initiatives.
I think what's there right now is fine.
So the challenge is continuing the community outreach
Are you fine with that?
with the absence
fine
of the
with that.
Oh,
administrator.
okay, that's why, okay, you're fine.
I didn't say I was fine,
Okay,
with it,
well,
but I am
didn't
fine
want
with
it
that.
to be a personal issue. It's nothing like that. Okay. Lobbyists, recommendations.
That was what I had from my notes, I believe, that Alderwoman Finlayson. So that was a recommendation that we add a
Yeah.
lobbyist for state and federal.
What do they have? There was talk about.
We have a federal lobbyist
Right.
that
so-
negotiates and follows federal dollars.
So we
We
want
do
to add one
not
to state.
have a local lobbyist who would lobby at the county and the state levels.
Yeah,
Traditionally, in the past, we have had a local lobbyist.
yeah. Could we?
And not a federal lobbyist.
Right.
We had one who did both,
Right.
but we had others on staff who brought experiences at the federal level, so we didn't need a federal lobbyist.
Right.
So we have an organization that's hired as our federal lobbyist, and this recommendation is that we hire a local lobbyist who could
Yeah.
follow
General Assembly.
county council, all local government agencies for us.
Yeah, the gap, and I think it's covered in what you're saying, is we don't have a lobbyist that attends the General Assembly to know what's going on that affects us. Do you want to be more specific in this recommendation to
No,
include?
I don't.
Just a
This
local?
is very clear. I think it's duplicative. Hire a lobbyist to assist in lobbying at the state and county levels.
Perfect. Okay.
And we've heard this a number of times. our department heads lobby for us. They're called before this legislature, the state legislature, to speak to any number of issues. Fire Chief Romali, Director Simmons have all spoken for legislation. We know nothing about it unless we're connected with them and hear about it.
Right.
Our lobbyists will, first of all, sit with us to find out what our objectives are for the coming year, and then keep us abreast of what is going on and how those interests are working their way through the legislature.
Do we need to say local lobbyist? Just lobbyist?
Well, if we're talking state and county, that's local.
Yeah, it's inferred, so, I mean, the guy or girl, whatever person might live somewhere else, I don't know. We just need that lobbyist.
Well, it's local, meaning he's gonna or she's gonna
Which you-
lobby at the state and county
Right, which you
levels.
already say, so I'm saying it's
Yeah.
duplication.
Any other recommendations for Mayor?
I have a question. Green Transition Research and Development, 25,000. I just have TBD.
It is, it was answered in the questions posed to each department.
Sorry.
And it is initiative for another exploration trip.
Okay, I'm busted. I didn't see that answer. Okay, good, because I had TBD question mark.
So did I until I read the questions.
Okay. A lot of moving parts here. All right. How's everybody feel with this? Anybody, check your notes, my scribbles, your
What are
scribbles.
you, I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're talking about, so what was that? What are we adding?
Mayor, are we
Are
adding
we
any
okay
other
with the
recommendations?
mayor's office?
Oh, yeah, I thought we had finished that. but
Okay. Just checking. All right, so we did OEM. And then today,
It's not transportation.
it's not transportation, that's tomorrow. It's not,
Not planning and zoning.
well, I didn't have that for tomorrow. I didn't have it anywhere. Did you have it for tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Okay. P&Z.
Well, especially we took care of parks today, so.
That's a big one, yeah, okay. Oh, no, it's fine, I missed a department.
The next one down is Office of Law.
Okay. All right, there you go, okay.
We have reduction in contract attorneys. Started city code legal review and modernization. Successfully negotiated 1,500,000 in opioid litigation settlement.
That's a correct number, right? You know me in numbers. We got that from
I've got that from his report.
Director Dickinson. Did we settle on 1.5 million, the opioid? Under Office of Law, we have this good news that they successfully negotiated 1.5 million in the opioid. Yeah, see, this always happens.
I took it right here.
I know. So did Sheila from the presentation, but they have to agree.
Sorry, Jody Dickinson, Finance Director. Haven't gone through all the awards totals. I'd have to go back through them. We're getting them in pieces. There's no way we're getting $1 million right now. It would be all of the settlements added together, and I highly doubt if it totals that high.
Okay, yeah, that's what,
I can give you what I have. I don't have all the information because some of the cases haven't
yeah,
given us their final distribution list.
yeah, it's a moving,
I would take the amount out.
Might just
I'm
take
not
the
sure the amount's that high in total.
successfully negotiating.
May I ask a question? So what are we talking about? Are we talking about the number that was negotiated in the settlement that is supposed to come to us? Or are we talking about what we have in hand?
This was suggesting taken directly from the
Yeah,
budget book that successfully negotiated 1.5 million in opioids litigation settlements for the city.
So my question is, are we talking what they negotiated at the end of the day on the dotted line? What did the agreement say? Or are we talking about what monies have come in towards this settlement?
This says negotiated, so it does not say has received.
Right.
So I would assume that it was what was negotiated, but we're taking it out anyway because we don't have.
I would have to ask them where that came from so I could tie it to my records.
Let's
So
just-
you do not get a copy of, or is it the law department that
So there
gets
is
the settlement?
no, there was never a document said, here's what we settled for. There are at least 6 to 8 different court cases, and we're getting the settlement information separately. And it's coming to me through a national website. It's not coming from the Office of Law. It was a class action suit, and our involvement from this end was merely responding to emails, signing up on the website, saying, yes, we're going to participate in this. And that was the extent of our local involvement.
We have a local attorney.
There was a local attorney, and
It was.
I don't know what the crossover responsibilities were because the information I was getting was not coming through him. It was coming through a national website. So,
I spoke to him a few months ago on, happened to be someplace else, and he reiterated the same number that's in this report. And it made me, I said, well, we've not seen that money, and he said, you should. So, and that was Mr. Gormley, who was our attorney for this lawsuit. So, I don't know.
so I would suggest that you ask Mr. Lyles to come up and give us the background for where the number comes from. I can go back to all the distribution worksheets I have and add them up and see if they come to $1.5 million.
Here's what we do. If that was successfully negotiated, it would be revenue coming in that you could find pretty easily. I get nervous when we have numbers that you are questioning, so let us just rephrase the sentence to say, successful in.
We changed it.
Leave it like that.
Negotiated opioids litigation settlement.
Are they still negotiating? Does anyone know the answer to that? Are they still negotiating, or is it a done deal?
I don't know.
Okay, how about if we just say, because I get nervous with the word settlement, because we don't see this money that Joe Gormley's talking about. Why don't we just say successful in negotiating opioids litigation? How's that?
There you go.
Do you got, okay.
Yep.
So
I'm fine
I
with
think
that.
we should bring Mr. Lyles in to speak to this, to
he'll
be
say
honest with
that
you.
he will say that he negotiated $1.5 million, just
okay.
as he said. So,
I'm not going to contradict.
we're not
Anyway.
contradicting, we're just taking out the numbers because,
I agree,
Yeah.
but I still would feel comfortable having him come in to explain how he got to the 1.5 or 1.6 or whatever it was. But you want to take it out?
Yeah.
It's out.
Can you also remove the word settlement, please? Kaylin? Thank you.
that's good.
And then I have training for Annapolis Police Department on the MD police accountability, not boats.
So how is that
Board.
good news if I don't understand it?
That's the new state law under which we're bound. And that's what Ms. McCoy makes sure that
Succeeded
everyone.
So make it a good news, succeeded in training, or, I mean, I
I
don't know.
mean, he has successfully conduct training.
Oh, good, I like that, there you go. Right?
Yeah. I just was trying not to use successfully.
Or provided
Again.
training. I
Yeah,
mean, if
there
you
you
don't want
go.
to be repetitive.
Yeah. So you can get rid of successfully, Caitlin.
So just put provided training.
Yeah, with a capital P, yeah. Okay.
As for challenges, are we good with good
Oh,
news?
wow, yeah. Yeah, I'm good with good news.
Challenges, I have attracting professionals due to salaries being lower than private sector, because that's something he highlighted. 30% of attorneys' days spent on HACA cases. The office needs more space for staff.
I would reword that. Yeah, the third bullet. Office needs more space for staff. I would say inadequate
Yeah,
space.
yeah, thank you.
Space for staff.
Because if you wanted to expand on that, part of the inadequate space for staff involves security and
So put
Do just challenged by,
office space
yeah,
and security.
inadequate office space for staff. I would just leave it at that because he did focus a little bit on the fact that they needed
do we want to
better
just add the word
security.
secure in front of office space? Secure office space for staff? Question?
inadequate, secure.
No. To provide security? He did mention the concern about security, but,
There were, I have in my notes, security issues and need more space.
right.
So are they lacking adequate security for the department?
We have to tie in security there somehow.
Why wouldn't it could just be a separate bullet? We're talking space and then we're talking security.
Ensuring security, next bullet, ensuring,
The challenge, what's the challenge?
yeah, ensuring security for
Office staff.
office staff.
The challenge is the inability to secure, the inability to ensure adequate security?
But I don't know if they're if they're not successful. I thought, right, they're just, they have to,
challenge.
all he said is that when we look for office space, we have to ensure that it can be secure. So, oh, that's fine. Inability is one word. Thanks, Caitlin. All right.
And then another challenge were budget requests that were not funded. Because
Okay,
he outlined that as,
yeah, I thought we weren't going to go there, though, because majority of the enhancements were funded, and we were not going to open up enhancements
we can take it
not
completely
funded.
out.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, highlighted it in my notes.
Yeah,
So
no.
Well, before you take it out, is there anything that we would like to amend?
Yeah, if it ties into a recommendation, Sheila's correct, that if, was there, did you recommend that they add staff? I think,
this was not staffing, this was for instance, additional funds for union negotiations. My personal opinion is unless new union negotiations were completed by the time of budget,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to put more
So,
money towards
yeah,
it.
that's why I don't want to open it up, then. I think we should just delete that bullet unless it ties into a recommendation like we did with OEM. He did have a challenge, and help me with this one. Sometimes unexpected things come up that divert the whole staff. You had that? Okay, you had that one.
For the last bullet, I think he's more so talking about it's coming. Does it come out of our budget instead of being allocated from something else? More so.
I'm not clear on what the question is.
So
What kind of things arise that would be funded out of law as opposed to somebody else?
More so, for an example,
Are you on mic?
no.
Sorry. Kaylin Jackson, City Council Associate.
Yes.
For example, APF, when you guys revised the code and Linda Schuett was hired, was that supposed to be out of our budget or coming from somewhere else? Because I believe it came out of our budget and wasn't supposed to, or was supposed to be.
When you say our, you mean Office of Law?
Yes, that Office of Law.
Well, I think we have a response to that. We didn't know about it.
Okay.
But this is an opportunity to put in place a process. You know, if anything legal by any department doesn't automatically get charged to the law department.
Yes.
And that's the problem.
Yes.
So how is that addressed? I see Ms. Dickinson has her hand.
Yes, Finance Director Dickinson, let me give you some examples of the things that come up that he doesn't feel the budget would be enough for. One of them, it was Linda Schuett. They knew about some of it, but the work continued and it was more than he anticipated. So during various supplemental appropriations or fund transfers, we come to you and ask you to add to the Office of Law budget, which we did this year. If you recall, there was a rather large request from them to increase their money to cover the union negotiations. And do you remember the title work on Gibraltar Avenue, and there was Jeremy's Way, sounds familiar too, that's coming to mind, where they had to do some title work, and that's not something they can do in-house. They had to ask somebody to help them from outside, and they did not anticipate that in their budget. So those are the kind of things that get passed along. Also, if there's some kind of special assignment from another department, such as, you know, if planning and zoning needs something done to the code or that type of thing, that he would say would not be something he would anticipate.
Okay.
And I think he would tell you that he wants all legal services to go through the Office of Law.
Okay, so if I think that this is a challenge, using the Linda Schuett example, that was a result of miscommunication. So
I don't,
suppose we add a challenge.
so I don't,
Manage.
I'm
Well,
not,
It doesn't, that's a.
okay, I
it's a
just,
bad
I don't know where
example.
that word came from. So
I know that one just is probably a bad example, but, so his challenge is to manage, and I don't know if it's too specific if I say city council legal needs or just legal needs, manage the legal requests with better inter-office communication? Is that general enough? Because he's getting legal requests from everywhere. He can't just he can't just do it. He has to talk to the respective, whether it's city council or.
So it's always a communication issue. It's that things come up that we don't anticipate.
Yeah, that's how I started
Business
this.
matters come up that we don't anticipate that need legal assistance.
Okay.
And then as soon as we know we need legal assistance, I, as a department director, would reach out to the Office of Law and find out how are we going to address this.
Manage unexpected legal needs.
May I ask, is there, and maybe it should be as a recommendation, there should be a fund for these unexpected legal costs?
He does have some in his budget for contractual services for unanticipated needs. It isn't always enough to cover what he needs.
So we need to increase the amount in that line item, it sounds like.
How do you estimate that? It's kind of like what Brian with IT handled that, handled that well, where he said, instead of hiring another person, I just want this bucket of money where I can hire different consultants to address different things.
But respectfully, one of the good news is he has a reduction in contract attorneys.
No, I know.
So-
he doesn't say though, oh, okay, that might be his special assignment number
Correct.
that he didn't get.
Correct.
So the question to us is if we want to recommend like, as Sheila suggested, a bucket of money. He has here, roughly 50,000. If it's a contractual lawyer, that would be could that be a one-time expense? If we propose, I know I'm thinking ahead to recommendations, but if we propose consultant money, one time only, figuring out how this is gonna work this year for unexpected legal requests, is that a recurring expense?
I think you would call it a recurring expense because there's going to be unknown things every year that come up.
Would have to carry over every
Some may be 50,000 one year, it may be 150,000 the next year. It varies, and so I would say it's a recurring expense for his budget.
Yeah.
What I would say is, in the cases where they have run low on appropriations, we have worked to find them appropriations to transfer to their budget. It's happened a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 years where we have had to do that, to find available appropriations. And this last time, we used some of the contingency fund.
Okay, well, keep in mind, we did add an attorney last year. So is this a staffing, I don't want to get into management of his resources, but is this something that he could do better with better communication or something, right?
So I know you're not asking me that question,
No, I
right?
know, I
Okay,
know.
you're thinking out loud.
Because it's
and
it's got to be managed, because he can't do everything.
I have no expertise in that area at all, so
either.
don't ask my
I don't know
opinion on
if 3,
that.
4 attorneys are enough for a city of this size. I have no idea.
I think it depends on the workload.
All right, so we're going to remove the budget requests not funded as a challenge.
And why don't we expand the next bullet by saying, manage unexpected legal needs with current staff? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
So the challenge
waiting for it
is
to take.
managing
I know,
unexpected
sorry.
legal needs. Managing unexpected legal needs with current staff.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I add a good news?
Oh, yes, Budget Manager Connolly.
Ms. Berger was successful in saving this city $75 million in potential litigation, so we might want to add that.
There's a number there that you agree with, put it in.
And I just want to confirm,
her name.
it says 30% of attorneys' days are spent on HACA cases. Did that come from the
Challenge, you have that.
30% of all attorneys, or?
Right.
Do you want me to
Check that?
it just seems like a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
We say 30% of an attorney's day.
Do you want me to check?
Yeah, check.
I don't know.
I don't
It just
think
seems
not
high
at
to me,
all.
but I'm not in that office, so.
If you could check, I had written that down in my notes.
Okay.
And all I have is 30% of day on spent on HACA for 2 major federal cases.
And that is a challenge. That's a huge challenge.
Ms. Conley, could you repeat the number? How much? Sorry, she's typing down.
It was 345.
75 million. Ms. Berger saved the city.
Where does that money go?
We didn't have it.
We didn't have to pay it out.
It was a lawsuit for
Okay, let's just
75 million that we
let's
didn't have
phrase
to.
it that way.
It was dismissed. The case was dismissed.
Okay. Successful in,
Having a $75 million case dismissed.
period. You got Kalen, okay, say that for Kalen. This is good.
But I'm not comfortable listing a specific attorney.
No, she's not going to.
Yeah.
Well, it says the assistant city attorney.
Where-
Unless we're going to attribute other things.
How about the
to
city attorney's office was successful in
The law
saving-
office
Yeah,
was
just-
successful.
Yeah, just say success, start it off with successful. We're talking about the department, so successful in whatever you said. Successful in, what did you say? Did you want to?
in saving the city?
We didn't save, we,
Budget Manager Connolly, how did you say it? Did you say, we're struggling with what to say, successfully
Dollars.
in
So there was a $75 million case that was dismissed. Successful in the dismissal of a $75 million case.
successful
we
in,
got it now, successful in, go ahead, Alderman O'Neill.
in having a $75 million case dismissed.
Perfect. Wow, I didn't even know that.
He said it. He said it here. I just didn't, because I wrote it in 75,000, I didn't think that it was worthy of good news. So I should have continued in my note taking.
Yeah, that one just
to
kind
put
of
it,
went
make it
into
million.
opioid thing.
Thank you for that. Are we good here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can
We're
we
good
say
with
something good
challenges?
about the city clerk office?
We'll save that for later. Uh, So the committee's recommendation is increase
has-
funding for special assignments?
Actually, sorry, he's very proud of the fact that he has kept you from working overtime. I don't know if that's worth good news, but I don't know. It was just, he's, he's really strict about that now. It's good, because he used to have to hang around till all hours.
Could we take a 10-minute recess before we go on to the next, if we're completed with this?
Yeah,
Are we completed with this department?
Yeah, I just wanted to give credit to the
Does,
I'll think of something there. I think it's good news. Isn't it though? Don't you agree? You don't work as much,
No, I don't.
you don't agree?
No, I mean, I agree that I don't work. I don't really work overtime unless it's one of my committee meetings. But that's not, it's
Okay.
3 times. That's it. City council, economic matters, and housing. So we really don't have peace.
And you don't get paid overtime when you do work overtime.
No, I do not.
Right, that's why he's trying to control it. Yeah, okay, that's all right. I just won't harp on
are
it.
we good? Are
We're gonna take a 10-minute recess and reconvene at 11:35. Are you ready?
Okay, you say he's ready now.
Okay. Okay, we're live. Finance has reconvened at 11:30, 8, 7, whatever. Okay, we're on to city manager's office.
All right, for good news, I listed completed the community survey and utilized results to address FY25 budget.
Great.
Added funding for communications app. Is there a specific name for that app?
Yeah, the name of the software is With,
WITH.
W-I-T-H.
WITH.
Is that the acronym for the actual app, or is it just called?
Created citywide standard operating procedure structure. And I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and say that the number that had been implemented, or just leave it at structure. Because right now it's 3. Or is it 3 new? We didn't have them before.
Correct, there weren't any, so there are 3 that are fully done. Several more that are on their way.
Okay. And so to that, I would add creating citywide standard operating procedure structure with the completion of 3 by budget. And we can change that wording, but does that make sense?
What does that mean by budget? Can we just say
By the time the
completion?
budget was written.
Oh,
So it's the completion
Completion of 3 what?
of the standard operating procedures for departments.
okay, that can be rephrased, completed, help me out. Completed 3,
So
everybody understands,
procedure structure, period, completed 3.
everybody understands what
No.
budget is really our.
Citywide
Benchmark.
standard operating procedure structure is good news, created. So we need created in the front of citywide standard, created citywide standard operating procedure structure. Completed,
For each department?
well, they're creating them. She created the structure, they've completed 3.
But it doesn't say you created the structure for what? 3 of what? We're talking 3 departments, are we not?
So they've created the structure, so.
Yeah, it's an
of
overall
all which-
structure.
So they've created the outline for the standard rating operating, and then they have implemented 3 so far of our departments.
It still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've,
Created a structure.
I need
for
to hear what we're,
trying to say.
who we're creating this for. Are we're
So-
creating a citywide standard
Yes.
operating procedure for each department.
So,
And we finished 3 of them.
Yeah.
so
You don't.
Sort of. So these standard operating procedures are things that the city the city departments as a whole are affected by. So it's not standard like the general orders in police or fire, for example, they create them, they're for themselves, right? These are things like, how do we deal with grants? How do we handle procurement issues? How do we handle travel? So it spans, so these are standard operating procedures that span the departments. They might get initiated by a particular department, but the effects span departments.
So my question is, what are the 3?
So the 3, the first one was the easiest, which was just, so what are these and how do we do them? How do we put them together and how do we review them? So it was a standard operating procedure on how to make the standard operating procedures. The second was grants. The third one was the travel policy.
Okay, so I would like something to the effect that explains what the three are. If the standard operating procedures are citywide, they may be initiated by a department or not, but you have created three already. And so I think it needs to say that for clarification. Everybody doesn't understand all of this. Now, let me ask you, how does the police operating manual coincide with or work with this new procedure?
They're largely separate. So procedures that departments create for themselves, we haven't mucked with that process at all. That's still in police's hands. It doesn't really change anything for them. It's really just, there were general, how do we as a city handle these broader issues? And it's trying to kind of bring some order to that process. So it doesn't really get into what does a department do for itself.
We approved and I'm losing the term or the description for the police department, their standing.
The
general orders. The last time we approved the general orders was in the 80s, I want to say, maybe 90s. It's got a date on the front of it. I have it. So when
we would need someone from the Office of Law to address that, because I don't believe those get approved by council.
Okay. Well, it should be interesting. They need to be updated, there's no question, because we're still operating under that manual that's 30, 40 years old.
Yeah, and it gets convoluted with the state legislation now that might speak to that, so.
Yeah, maybe it's been corrected by Ms. McCoy.
So,
How's this? Hang on a second, let me type and then I can talk.
what does structure mean, like template? Framework? Framework, is that a better word? Framework?
That would work.
Framework, right?
So it's, where are they, how are they structured? So there is a standard template that they all follow.
I don't think we
There's a
need the
naming
number one.
convention,
Do you have a problem if we
have
substitute
three
structure
things
with
there.
framework?
review
No.
process.
I just used the word
Oh,
from the
you're in
benefit.
it, can you do that?
Framework works to
I'm
capture all
trying,
that.
but
Oh, hi, Julian. Can you replace the word structure, to me means a building, can you replace that with framework?
yes.
Bullet number 3, yeah.
Three sections were completed by the start of the budget process. How to create
And these are the 3?
2 grants and 3 Can you just put a number 3 in front of travel? Oh, you took away the number 1. Never mind.
How to create what? What is that? What is that?
Was what these are and how we're doing them, which was the first framework. So, assistant
How to create a
city
framework.
manager was what are these and how?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yes. Grants, what is it, what kind of framework are you?
Is it grant procedures, grant?
Yeah, so it covers kind of the life cycle of a grant. What's the process when you want to pursue something? What does that internal review and approval process look like?
Grant procedure, how about that?
Yeah,
Okay, grant
Yeah.
procedure.
what kind of information are we expecting to be stored?
Yeah, we could
Who's
really
responsible
expand
for
on
doing
that,
what
but-
pieces? It's all the internal mucking about to do that.
So are the department or the directors involved in this? You know, many departments have grant procedures that I think should be considered when you're
Yeah,
doing your
so I think I
guidelines.
sent the SOPs to the council, so I think you can see what they are. The process generally is, if someone wants to create an SOP, they create a draft. That draft gets sent to all the departments.
I don't know what SOPs is. This is a new
Standard
term.
operating procedure.
Okay.
And so that draft gets sent to all the departments. And then depending upon how detailed it is, so the grants, for example, is pretty detailed, kind of really hits people where they live in a lot of ways, you know, their day-to-day jobs. So we actually I asked all the departments to submit someone who could sit down and do a review. So we actually did some in-person reviews to go through the entire document. And they had a lot of different suggestions for things to clarify in there, or questions that weren't answered and stuff like that. So it was actually a very helpful process. And then once all those were done and that review was done, then it goes to Mr. Malinoff for a kind of a final review, and then a final signature for implementation. So you're correct. You know, all the departments, I don't pick and choose. I just send it to everybody for review. And that's held true for all of the ones that we've done so far.
So that's huge. In other words, you identified where the grant effort was in each department. And did you, in developing standard operating procedures, how far did you go? Like so that there's no duplication or there's no exhaustion of staff?
Yeah, well, all good questions, right? Which is why having a review process that involves the departments is important.
Okay.
Because the point is for those to be helpful in clarifying who's responsible for what are the expectations, right? Without being burdensome, right? And
Definitely
so
a flow
folks have
chart.
to sort of be able to weigh in on that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Is it done? Is it done?
yeah, you guys should have copies of the grant, the
Okay.
3 that are done, travel grants, and the,
Do you have a better, I mean, that's huge. So do
Yeah.
you have a better title than grant? We just say, in parentheses, well, you can see, we identify the 3. Do we say grant procedure citywide, or I don't know. I wanted to embellish that a little bit, but, and then travel, what's specifically on travel? Is it travel guidelines, travel?
Yeah,
Just to edit those.
yeah, so for travel, it's things like, how do we, because this actually was a policy change on the part of the city. It was one of the changes that Director Dickinson was interested in was to simplify that process. So the city had a process of you had to submit receipts for everything. There was a lot of looking at every single thing. So we did some standardizing on following the federal GSA rates, the General Services Administration rates for per diem and stuff like that, to simplify that process, to make it a little bit more predictable for departments, less onerous in gathering all that information, and easier for the Department of Finance to review.
Could we substitute the word procedure? Could we substitute the word procedure with policy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Title. I can,
Just keeping it simple as a good news, how to create the framework.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't just give you, drop in an email what the actual document titles are. It includes their number and random, and the,
I don't
But-
think that's necessary. I just think for this purpose, we can just change the word procedure to policy, and it
Yeah.
covers the 3 categories. Because you have a lot to say there, and that's probably not a bulleted item. Just make sure we capture those 3 that are complete.
Right.
I do have a question, though. I don't want to belabor this, but it's about travel. I just asked Kaylin because we had asked her a month ago to make the arrangements for MML, and they haven't been done because somebody else has to approve her to use a credit card, I guess, to make the arrangements, which means that we're going to pay a higher rate because we've delayed taking care of this by a month. But I've also heard from staff that they're being told they can only stay in certain locations, which is not where we stay. We work together on presentations and the like, and then they have to hop around from. So anyway, who determines that is, I guess, my question. Is that part of the procedure that's outlined? I mean, I understand using the federal guidelines for per diem and all of that. But I think I'm hearing micromanaging other pieces of it that are somewhat concerning.
Not really. That was part of, and
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
So
And manager.
the policy explains that we reimburse hotel stays at the federal rate for that area for that time of year. There's a I don't know what they call it, some kind of federal rate that they'll pay the federal employees to stay in. I'll give you an example, Indianapolis, which is because we just ran into this issue as well. And it also provides that if you can't find something within that area for that amount, there's a way for the department director to approve the variation from the requirement if they've exhausted looking in that area. Because we had the problem in Indianapolis where we can't find a hotel anywhere near the event that has that rate. So we're going to have to pay a different rate, and I'm going to have to approve it because there's just no hotels at that rate in that area. So if it looks like the federal rates may not be appropriately updated or something, because it's right in the area of the convention center that they have there. So you'd think it'd be updated, but it doesn't cover any hotel in the area. So there is, in the policy, there is a way to get around that if you've exhausted other avenues. So it's not that they're overly restricting, it asks for a good faith effort to find a hotel within the federal reimbursement rate.
Are we bound by the federally reimbursed rate?
No, not legally, but just as a policy, we're using that as a guidance because those rates usually are fairly representative of what's available. We don't want somebody to choose an upscale hotel because they want all the bells and whistles, and we don't want to have to pay anything that they stay at because some people would choose a really expensive hotel and expect to be reimbursed for it. So we say, here's your target rate, look at what the feds will reimburse, and stay somewhere that's within that rate.
Likewise, we don't want people in flea bag hotels either. So
that's true. So that's why we wrote the exception language into the policy to give them an out if there's not anything available for whatever reason in that area.
Okay, and MML, which is our state organization, picks the hotels and they negotiate rates at those hotels. So I'm going to assume that those hotels are all acceptable to us.
Typically, when they settle those rates, they do try to get rates that are equal to or better than the federal rate. So that's why I was surprised in Indianapolis. This is a big conference that somebody's putting together. Why they weren't able to negotiate rates that were federal rates, I don't know. But even if you expand it out to other hotels, not the hotels with the block of rooms, you still can't find anything at the rate that they're
I don't know
recommending.
anything
So.
about Indianapolis. Are you on to Indianapolis? Is that what it is?
No. This is
you're
not.
just
This is
using that
something
as an
else. This
example.
is the Tyler Technology annual update that.
I was just going to say that this sounds like a longer conversation
think
than
we are-
our.
Yeah.
Going way off
so
the rails here.
I think if you read through the policy, you'll see that there are.
Okay.
There are ways to, if you're restricted, overly restricted by what we're trying to do, there are ways out. In fact, we've made the per diem process much, much easier for everyone.
So,
Okay, thank you for letting me ask my question.
absolutely, but dialing it back to this, though, are we sure we want to say that we completed these, or is it a draft?
These are the 3 that are completed.
They are completed, okay, because it sounds like there's still issues. You're okay. I had to ask, just didn't know if I insert draft.
Are
Okay.
there more sections coming?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not completed. You've just done 3.
No, those 3 are published. There are additional ones. We're talking about procurement on Friday. So there are some additional ones in the works, but those 3 are published.
Will you use published instead of completed in the third bullet, Kaylin?
3 sections are published
3
by
sections
this,
were published.
were published by the start of the budget process.
Okay.
And then implemented leadership training through a retreat for department directors and deputies.
Through a retreat, was through, help me out there, not through a retreat, by having a retreat. Isn't there English there?
And we didn't implement leadership
This says
training.
through a
We-
leadership retreat.
I
I
know.
took the wording directly from the city manager's
I know.
page.
I know.
So,
Well, he also, why don't we add to that, maybe it's, okay, I think we should add that the good news is, heck, we had our first city council retreat in a long time. So, well, I don't, help me with that
actually, the
one.
second,
Well, I want to go back to implemented. He coordinated leadership training, I think, instead of implemented.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't want to put words in his mouth. The word in the book
We're
says
doing that in
implementation.
every,
Yeah, no, no.
Opportunity.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we agreed we didn't want to do cliff notes from the budget book, which
Yeah.
was just cut and pasting. We need to own it, we need to own it.
I don't think you can say first city council because
it
that
was
was
a
last
retreat,
year.
so I don't know why
Oh,
we're
right,
not calling
okay.
it that.
Yeah, there was something this year, but he's definitely, the good news is that the city manager's office is focused on a strategic plan, and we need to make sure that that's really clear. And like,
So that could be another bullet point for good news.
yeah, right, Vicky? I don't want to put words in your, I mean, he is. City okay, so delete that last bullet, Kaylin. Good
Why
news,
you,
because it wasn't the first one. It wasn't the first city council retreat, is what somebody said.
Yeah, we had one last year.
Okay, so, but all this ties into, good news is continued, next bullet, continued focus on finalizing a strategic plan for the city.
Good.
Okay. Anything?
I mean, there were lots of bullet items. I kind of pulled out what I thought were the highlights that were the most. So, the things that I took notes on from the presentation is
And it
what
makes-
I.
Yeah, no,
title
that's fine,
should
that's what
stay
we all
there.
do, but now there's
not
nothing.
space for other-
Is it efficiency or a good news that we moved the mayor's community initiatives to the office? I don't know, I'm getting messy there, but we did move that stuff out, and I don't know if that makes the city manager office any more focused, or, I don't, it's not worth mentioning. No, okay, okay.
So I separated out and added the next line then, resiliency and sustainability. City dock is close to construction phase.
Oh, wait a minute, time out for a second, excuse me. Where did you put then challenges? At the very bottom? I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to look at this. So,
I didn't give the city manager any
Oh, okay.
challenges.
So
I
you're
separated
keeping-
it
Oh, okay. So you
into their departments.
Oh, they have to have some challenges.
Well, I separated into their specific parts. So I went on to resiliency and sustainability with City Dock is close to construction phase. And they hired DPW was able to hire a stormwater project manager. Well, I know that is not necessarily in the city manager's office, but it does fall under resiliency and sustainability because that stormwater project manager is doing amazing things. Those were Karma's words, not the city manager's words.
Why don't we just say the major resiliency project at City Dock. Use the word resiliency so it ties into,
Yeah.
yeah. Major resiliency project at City Dock is
Construction phase, close to construction phase. It's close to construction phase.
I think that's good.
Oh, how about this? Will groundbreaking it's revised sentence, groundbreaking for a major resilient project at City Dock is scheduled for this fall. How's that?
I don't think I would put that.
The date? Oh, no.
I just would say close to construction phase.
Oh. Okay, you're afraid that it won't. Okay.
What's the difference? Construction
I don't know, I just
phase?
wanted, it's, groundbreaking is a huge milestone, but we want to be,
Groundbreaking, I would keep
Yeah.
groundbreaking.
for good news
if you-
next year.
Right, groundbreaking is in there. I would not put a specific time on it. I would just say it's close to the construction phase because
Okay. So what are you trying to say in this next bullet?
that good news for resiliency is that a stormwater project manager has been hired
To manage.
to address and manage stormwater projects throughout the city.
Yeah.
Yes, address and manage stormwater projects throughout the city.
Can we say, I'm being weird, but to focus on? I mean, it's, the good news about that is that we're focusing, we always
To
manage.
focus on and address.
Manage to focus specifically on stormwater projects throughout the city.
So take out to address and manage and say to focus on stormwater.
Are we sure this shouldn't be in DPW, or are you putting it in both places?
I put it in this because it's under the headline of resiliency and sustainability.
I do
Are we
mention
putting it
it,
in DPW also?
I mention it in enterprise funds, so, but this is probably a good news for the resiliency effort. Stormwater projects. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but it is a big resiliency issue. Did she? Yeah, okay. It would be helpful if I completed the sentence in my notes. I have the Resiliency Authority question mark. Okay, good, Ellie, that's really helpful. Well,
And then I have for challenges for resiliency is the continued flooding downtown. Because it is a challenge for sustainability. We're seeing more and more flooding. Used to be we'd see it once or twice a year. We've seen, 10 times of flooding this year?
yeah, it's kind of weird, because what is that department's reaction to it? What is, I mean, I'm definitely gonna have that under DPW, well, in some way. I don't know what I'm trying to get at
And
here.
I will be honest, I struggled because in the budget book pages, there's a breakdown of the office itself, the harbor master's office, the community service. There's not specifically line items that specifically call out resiliency and sustainability, other than I know that there are projects that deputy has been working on. For instance,
Yeah,
did you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we have some city manager good news, general good news, and perhaps maybe more of the good news is talking about some of the accomplishments. The regional priority climate action plan, securing funding for, is another good news for the resiliency.
Okay, I just think we need to, I'm on challenges, right? The first one, that doesn't really say how that is a challenge.
Trying to address it. It's a challenge.
Addressing, you're just making a statement, continued flooding downtown. So the action is, or the challenge is to,
Address continued flooding in downtown,
is that?
Sure.
what
or
you wanna say?
eliminating continued flooding in downtown, or managing continued. What are we trying to do? What's the big challenge?
Reacting, I guess, because reacting to the continued flooding downtown.
Responding to the continued flooding?
I don't know what context she spoke of it, that's all. I'm just, I mean, to be
The big
honest,
challenge is eliminating the flooding in
Yeah,
downtown,
but-
is it not?
but to be honest, I don't know how else to ask this. What does that department do to prevent the flooding, or, you know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah.
This is a DPW task. So her effort, it's not making sense to me. It's,
Contributing to the
do you know what I'm trying to
solution?
say? It's like we're flooding, this is a problem.
So maybe then we focus on,
There has to be a way to say it, that's all I'm saying, is that,
Contributing to the solutions?
or be more specific, responding responding to the flooding needs by working with the Resiliency Authority, responding to the flooding needs by working with the Resiliency Authority to pursue funding. That's what she does, that's the relationship. She doesn't, or he, I don't mean to make it personal, but that's it. I just don't know how to say that.
responding to the continued flooding needs by working with the Resilience Authority
To achieve funding, to secure funding, because that's what it's all about. With the Resiliency Authority to delete the,
go back down to the.
Is she having a challenge working with the Resiliency Authority?
a challenge, you would say, in securing funding. It's a continued effort.
But that's not with them.
Yeah, that's where the only place where it could be.
Ms. Buckland, can you help us?
Yeah, I'm trying to,
To secure, just delete, if you delete, well, let me just say, benchmark where we are, to delete the last 5 words, to secure funding. So is that, just to keep it, is that a correct statement that she is a challenge to?
well,
Go ahead.
I think what I heard from Alderwoman Finlayson was, in some sense, like, what is the challenge we're trying to overcome in that picture? By working with the Resilience Authority and stuff, because the relationship itself is not the issue. I think that the Resilience Authority is, obviously works with us and a variety of other folks. And so there's a regional, I think sometimes the line between what does the city do alone, what does it do with partners, and how do those efforts map onto what are the potential funding avenues, and how does that map onto the projects the city already has or might be interested in doing. I think trying to take these very disparate pieces and having them fit together into a cohesive whole, I think is really the challenge that she works really hard on helping to navigate. And so I don't know, I'm completely talking off the top of my head, you know, the challenge of weaving together partners like the Resilience Authority and various funders into a cohesive strategy.
That's perfect.
I don't know.
All of that.
Yeah, no, because, okay, keep in mind, this all started because I need to tie in the resiliency, I need to tie in that effort to flooding. And so I jumped ahead and said, okay, it's the Resiliency Authority. And what you just said is the challenge, because it is focusing on the city. You know, the Resiliency Authority is formed state, county wide. So whatever you said is good. That's the challenge, is to make sure that, hey, I represent the city, and we need funding to keep the focus. So is there any way that can be said in 10 words or less?
So are we talking about coordinating all of the factions that would contribute to our sustainability efforts? That would include the Resiliency Authority, that would include the city at the table and the county and whomever. But is that the challenge that she has, coordinating to bring revenues to the city?
Yeah.
It may not be, I'm just.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I think that's fine. There's a lot that fits under the word coordinating, and so I think that's fine, because sometimes I think it's figuring out, when are we the lead, when are we a partner, right?
What's the goal there? What are we trying to get to?
Yeah, so the goal being to maximize the efforts in the city and to maximize the leverage.
Okay, you're
Right.
getting there. Okay, maximize leverage. That's what I'm trying to say.
With these various partners.
With various, what was the word you used, Sheila? With various faction, with various.
She said
Yeah,
partners.
stakeholders,
Pretty clear.
Stakeholders.
partners. There's probably a number of words you could use there.
Okay. Managed leverage
Yeah.
with various partners. It should we qualify and say county state partners? Yeah. Yes.
Well, there's more.
Yeah, it's more than
There's
that,
the Naval
but-
Academy, there's Army Corps of
Okay.
Engineers.
And then
There's any number
yeah.
of.
So keep it various partners too, and then the goal would be to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just secure funding. It's
So it's maximize
but-
efforts to leverage. The goal is to leverage the various partners to
Yeah.
what?
To,
reduce flooding.
to,
Address flooding challenges.
yeah, and improve
There.
overall city resilience.
To address. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Challenges.
To improve citywide resiliency. Boom, bingo, done.
And no, address flooding challenges and to improve.
Yeah, I just get stuck on flooding because I think of DPW.
And
but
to improve
resiliency efforts.
resiliency efforts, yeah.
And citywide resiliency efforts. You sure? Okay, you want to put flooding? Okay, I'm so stuck on that because what she does is through the Resiliency Authority.
Right. But,
And it is
and in that
citywide.
particular office, the challenge is, yes, so that makes sense. I mean, the challenge is flooding and how they're addressing it. So this speaks to how they're addressing it.
Okay. Are we good with that?
I do have an addition I'd like to add, going back up under good news, the fourth bullet. I think we should include city council
Wait, what fourth
under the
bullet?
retreat, coordinated leadership training through a retreat
Oh,
for
way up, okay.
department directors and deputies, but it was for
Yeah.
city council also.
Yeah, that should be a separate bullet? Or
No, just add along with
So the
For
leadership
city
training
council,
was,
department directors and
Well,
deputies.
the leadership training was for the department directors, deputies, and upper level management.
Yeah, that's why I
The-
suggest another bullet.
Yeah, so it's
Okay, so you're talking a different retreat.
A
then we
different
need to
bullet,
Separate it.
yes.
Yeah.
So that was leadership training, and then there was organization of a strategic planning retreat for council members and city leadership team, if you're gonna add another bullet.
Yeah, this year they held a retreat, held a retreat for city council.
So the city manager's office organized,
No, we've got
No,
a new
another
bullet.
bullet. What do you want to say then?
Coordinate, did we say coordinated already?
this is organized, organization of a
Organized is
strategic
fine.
planning retreat for council
Organized city
members.
council retreat.
Oh, yeah, okay, we can use his word on that one.
We're allowed to use his word on that one.
And it wasn't just for city council.
And leadership team, it says.
And
I was trying to
a
talk
joint.
slowly.
city,
How about a joint city council
Organized
slash,
a strategic planning retreat, organized a strategic planning retreat for council members and city leadership team.
no, city council, okay.
the city leadership team, meaning department heads, et
And the
cetera?
city leadership team, yes.
Okay.
Great. Are you good with that one?
Good.
Going down to Harbor Master, good news, rebuilt park at Cheston Avenue, adding floating dock and pier. Starting the pilot program for city kayak racks.
Started.
Harbor Master team handled 5 abandoned boats and rescued 3 people.
Do we have to say team, or we just say handled 5 abandoned boats? And rescued 3 people. I mean,
could
if we're
make that
keeping
one
them all
good news.
parallel, isn't it? Rescued.
The challenges that she spoke of were abandoned boats. Even though they did take care of 5, they're a challenge.
Could we explain what
Removal.
that means?
Yeah, instead of just
Yeah.
making a noun.
The challenge was is the removal of abandoned boats.
Okay.
Is monitoring part of that? Because she has to, there's like a thing, like how long have they been there and da-da-da-da, so monitoring,
So monitoring and removal of abandoned boats.
yeah. So start with the word monitoring on the first bullet, Kaylin, monitoring and removal of abandoned boats.
Do we monitor abandoned boats?
Well,
Or do we
that's,
just remove them?
no, she monitors how long they are there and they have to come back, and it's a big procedure, where that's really the challenge. Removing them isn't so much the challenge, it's just monitoring them.
So we're monitoring abandoned boats?
Yeah, just forget the removal, because it's the challenge of monitoring them, I believe. Are you okay
I would
with
say,
that?
how about monitoring and addressing?
Okay, good,
Because it is addressing an issue that's becoming more and more of a problem.
yeah.
So monitoring and removal of abandoned boats.
No, addressing.
That doesn't mean anything, addressing. What does
I
that
said
mean?
monitoring and addressing abandoned boats.
What does addressing abandoned boats mean?
Monitoring, forget addressing, and monitoring abandoned boats, subject to removal, or something like that. Prior removal. Thank you, Kaylin.
Prior? What do you mean prior?
But before they remove them, they want to make sure that she's not going to get sued, so,
Prior to monitoring abandoned boats prior to removal.
prior to removal. Okay.
The other challenge that she listed was replacing the chain and shackle on moorings every 4 years because it's a budget issue.
Could we say replacing the chain and shackle on moorings, comma, as required every 4 years?
Okay. And then another challenge is the projected loss to the department during city dock construction.
Can we add the word slip revenue? Is that the issue there? I mean, it
It's
is.
slip revenue,
there's other
it's
stuff, okay.
mooring revenue,
Okay.
it's,
Well,
I would just say projected loss.
okay.
How about a fee revenue?
Oh, no, it's fine. It's revenue, that's fine. Keep it general. But how about the challenge of relocating during construction?
Sure.
Challenge of relocating. I don't know where, so just say
Is
relocating.
it Harbor Master Services? What are we relocating?
We're under harbor.
I know where we are. I'm looking at what we're relocating.
The office, relocating the harbor master office. Of temporary relocating the harbor master office during construction, during city dock construction. Temporarily or temporary, temporarily? Oh, it's a word, yeah. Relocating the harbor master office during, and use the same verbiage as above, during city dock construction. Okay. I'm good.
Okay. Moving on to Office of Community Service, I had added Hispanic Outreach Coordinator. Maybe instead of hired, say filled the position of Community Engagement Administrator. Challenges were there are more requests for rental assistance than funding. I would say increased requests for rental assistance and funding. There's not a increase in funding, but increased requests for rental assistance. My note says that there weren't enough funds to handle all of the requests. So I don't know how you want to write that. That's,
Somebody just heard that recently, right?
yep. And the challenges of staffing to manage the 3 grant programs.
Bless you. Do we need to say what the 3 grant programs are? Or is that necessary? Just a question.
Do you want it that detailed? So the 3 grant programs are community grants, adopt a community grants, and family and child.
Yeah. Child and family success grants, yeah.
Child and family success.
Child and family success. Do we want to list the 3 grant?
I think so.
Okay.
Because they're,
So,
Yep, adopt a community. And then the community grants.
this is where I need Sheila, but going back up to good news, can we say, isn't it added Hispanic Outreach Coordinator instead of adding?
yeah.
Okay, sorry. An English teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, I would probably say you're in the passive voice.
Anything else on that?
The under challenges, the first bullet, increased requests for rental assistance, then funds.
We have to say what the challenge is.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Increased requests for rental assistance.
We changed the first part of it then.
Yeah, just say
Because
what is.
initially it was more requests for assistance than we had funds for. But we started to change the sentence. Increased requests for rental assistance.
How about just managing, the challenge is managing these increased requests for rental assistance.
There you go.
The challenge is that there isn't sufficient funds for all the requests that come in.
Right.
Well, I thought this was a percent of the hotel tax.
It is, but it's still not enough.
You know, the sources,
Manage, just put the word manage, increase requests for rental assistance.
managing increased requests that outweigh funding available.
Available
We
funding.
need to say something that there is inadequate funding for, that matches the requests that come in.
With allowable funds.
If I may make a suggestion, you
Yes.
could say requests for rental assistance exceed available funds.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, we need that now. We're in like the home stretch of today. This is when we get. We're just gonna go till 12:45 today.
I thought we were going till 12:30.
Oh.
With a
I thought-
hard stop at 12:45, but,
Hard.
I mean, as soon as we finish this, it doesn't make
Oh,
sense
wait.
to start another one.
Request for increase.
Yeah, I was gonna try to cram in MIT, but we can do that tomorrow.
Request for rental assistance. What was
Exceed
the word?
available
Exceeds.
funds.
Request for rental
Funds.
assistance exceeds
Available funds.
available funds. Request for rental assistance. You take that out. I have a quick question in regards to the rental updates. FY23, 103 awards were made for rent, 5 for utilities.
What is it?
And FY24, which I'm guessing was at the printing of the budget book, was 95 awards. Do you have an immediate or a easy way to tell us, since the printing of the book, if there've been additional
Managed
requests
3
beyond the
grant
95?
programs.
Or is the
Grant
95
programs.
projected?
That was the final number. It may end up growing slightly if there are some last emergency requests, but that used up the vast majority of the funding, so that window's not open anymore. The request portal isn't open.
Okay.
So you can consider
Well, you know,
that
with a break
essentially
between, but-
final.
Okay, so I
Might
have a
change slightly.
question because the rental assistance funds comes from the hotel tax. And in FY '24, that hotel tax increased, but it appears that the total amount awarded was less
Went
for
down.
'24 than in '23.
Yeah, the reason for that is because the collecting of the tax preceded the implementation of the program. So the program essentially inherited some prior money that had been collected but not spent, and then also had its first year of money. So that very first year actually used funds that were collected over more than 1 year.
Okay,
And so now you should see a steadier number moving forward, because this year, it's the projection just for this year. It's not, and any that potentially, because it is an estimate, once finance gets the final numbers, that sort of gets trued up. But the reason that number is noticeably bigger the prior years, because they actually were working with more than 1 year's timeline of money.
Okay, so the 159,737 is a pretty good projection of where we will go unless we have a huge influx of hotel stayers.
Correct.
Which I am working diligently to get all my wedding clients to stay in hotels.
There we go.
Insert the word "for" in the first bullet under challenges. Request for rental assistance exceeds the available funds. Thank you.
And one more question for you. You suggested that the rental assistance portal is closed. Do we have a way to capture
You get it?
the number of people that have tried to enter since it was closed?
Still
Or
missing.
is that a data point that we could use moving forward for necessary needs of funding? Or do we, because it's closed, we don't have any idea how many people are trying to access it?
Yeah, I don't know of a way to capture that. We could probably, we could probably look at like the number of page views. I'd have to talk with the webmaster about that. But I don't know how indicative that is of intent, right? Like that would be.
Right. And I guess
have to
my
think about
question
that.
is there also, to add to my question, is there an avenue by which if somebody were to try to apply but the portal is closed, that we could capture their information and perhaps recommend another funding agency?
Oh, yeah, and that's exactly what happens. It kind of happens all during the year, right? Is if we end up being in contact with a household for whatever reason, trying to connect them with available services, because obviously this is not the only rental assistance money that's available. So trying to make sure that they do get connected with other potential sources. And that's also actually just generally a strategy to try to make the city dollars kind of stretch as much as possible, is to make sure that if people are eligible for other things, like let's make sure we get them connected to that, because there are some folks who aren't eligible for that stuff. And let's try to maximize the use of the city dollars when we can't use other sources.
So that is happening. That is, so it doesn't have to be a recommendation by the.
Yeah, that continues to happen and is just part of, kind of just general good case management, trying to make sure that, you work with the residents to connect them to the array of services that they potentially are eligible for.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a follow-up question? There had been an agreement in the works for them to work with the Community Action Agency, because they have had a rental assistance program also. So is that one of the partners? Did that agreement ever?
My understanding and my just prior experience is that you don't really need an agreement in place for there to be referral relationships. So my understanding is that's a referral relationship that we already take advantage of and continue to take advantage of. My experience is that formal agreements typically involve something more than just referrals.
Well, it was kind of dictated by, I think, the law department, but I could be wrong. But there was an effort to.
Yeah,
So my experience in that is,
I think we have to even it out.
if you want to sort of have information flow back and forth, where you want to sort of do joint case management and stuff like that, those often you would need like a data sharing agreement or some other kind of agreement that governs that relationship. But if all you're doing is like, here's something available, let's do a warm handoff, and then, you know, let us know if you need additional help, right? But there's more of a handoff. Those typically don't require an agreement. It's more if you're going to count on there being back and forth,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
It does, yes, thank you. I'm sorry that we were not talking. I think it's going to come up about these grants that are listed here. Isn't that going to be an issue? Because they were funded last year and they're in their documentation for this year. That doesn't mean much of anything, but I know there's an effort to eliminate. So.
The staffing is still a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge because of all the things that, I mean, that go on in it. The awarding of the grants, the payment of the grants. So
Are we having a separate section? We are having a separate section on community grants, correct? Right?
It's already done, it's already.
No, I mean, yeah, but under that are we putting challenges and stuff under that, or
You can do whatever you want.
No, I'm just trying to make sense of it. The challenge is in this office, so, okay.
I think the challenge is the workload that's created for the department with these grants. The original creation of this department was a social services need.
Yeah,
It was not designed
to manage.
to manage grants, which is a full-time effort in itself. And so that has become overpowering, and Vicki, correct me if I'm wrong, but that has been much of what that department is doing instead of what we really envisioned them to do, which was to be more of a social services network in the city.
So,
And I'm sorry, I caught you with your.
no, but, okay,
So-
it sounds like it's a challenge. We have it listed correctly to manage the 3 grant programs. Do you, being in it, do you have any, help us out with recommendations? I know we should think for ourselves, but is there any sort of, I mean, is it a matter of funding? Is it a matter of support? Is it delegate, what? Here's your chance.
Yeah, no, I know.
You can think about it, because.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about how to say this. I think that grant programs can serve a lot of different purposes. And I have seen them range from all the way from you had a great idea. We want to help you do your great idea. Here's a little bit of money. Knock yourself out. Tell us how it went, right? And there's no contact at all. Up to, we view this as a deep partnership, and, it governs how those agreements are structured, and there's an expectation of a lot of ongoing coordination. So they can cover a lot of ground. And so I think having some clarity and I think that's an ongoing conversation.
Okay.
It's an ongoing conversation, and probably something that changes over time as the needs of the city change and what's important changes, where we think the gaps are changes. But having some alignment and clarity around how deep, where on that spectrum do we want to fall, and then really having.
Should we find a new home?
I don't.
Okay.
So, me personally, again, completely the world according to
Yeah,
Vicky.
Carmen needs to go, so.
Yeah.
You.
I'm not sure there's another good home.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think a challenge, because we don't address this anywhere else, we were talking about a task force for the community grant thing, but to generalize, reassess, there's a reassessment here. We need to reassess, help me out. This is our recommendation. You need to reassess our grant programs and realign with the right staff.
Well, and I think if you want to reference the existing council resolution around the grants task force, I think you could even say something as simple as a recommendation is to complete that work.
Yeah, implement, okay. Recommendation.
And that might be a nice
The task force.
neutral way,
Yeah,
maybe,
the task
of
force could expand.
talking about that.
No one stopped them from, I mean, it could expand into the other grant, How can you talk about one without the others, right?
And I don't think the legislation actually is limited to just I think the task force is kind of, in broad terms, like, give us some recommendations about how the city could approach grants in general.
So establish a task
Well,
force.
I think it's more complete the work
Yeah, what are we going to do?
of the resolution.
Has the task force been established?
It has, it is on the earlier stages of, like, they have met, but they haven't met often. So they're on the beginning stages of that.
So I'll have to find the resolution number. I'll get that to you, Caitlin, but we would just say complete implementation of task force to re-examine grant programs.
Well, I think we want to get the recommendations from the task force so that we could implement those that will work for us.
How are we going to get there, Vicki? Do you think we'll have?
Encourage the completion of the task force recommendations.
Encourage the completion of the task force.
It's R4823.
Oh, you are an angel. Task force, implemented by resolution, what's the word?
R2823, you said?
4823.
4823. And it was a resolution.
Yep.
Yeah. Did the resolution actually
48.
implement it?
Yeah.
Did the resolution actually implement it? I don't know how far it goes. Okay, that's a good word. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But can we expand on that and just say to re-examine the above the grant programs in this department?
Well, we want their recommendations. What are we re-examining?
Oh, yeah, so I'm getting into what their task is and what recommendations?
Well, so that council can
Act on recommendations.
Right.
can act on,
So
and
the
make
council can
appropriate
act on
decisions.
their recommendations.
Encourage the completion of the task force recommendations as, I don't like that, implemented by R28, 48.
Yeah, I just wanted to reference the resolution.
Yeah, and we should have it in. I just thought, sure, implemented is the right word. Yeah, it's good having that. I'm just thinking task force recommendations as directed by the legislation, as outlined by the legislation. What's the word we want?
Wait, we got the verbs mixed up. The implementation is getting the recommendations, so.
Encourage the completion of the task force recommendations as
So that the council
dictated
can act on, parentheses, so council can act on them. So that the council can act on them. to make
Yeah, that's
something.
fine, as dictated, outlined, encouraged by R48, comma, so that council,
Should I say resolution, but resolution and R mean the same.
mm-hmm.
Just put it resolution.
So that the council,
So just, yeah, write out resolution for
so that the
layperson.
council can act on them.
Capital. As defined, still looking for that word,
For the red.
in the resolution. I'm not sure we need so the council can act on them. I mean, that's kind of a
And
given.
present to the council, something.
Encourage the commission.
Okay, you're right, we could just end it there. Yeah. Okay. Shoot, I forgot to ask Karma about tomorrow. We gotta probably stay later to finish.
There shouldn't be a bullet there because it's only one item. So are we having a discussion about the boat or not?
Now? Oh, tomorrow, you mean?
If ever. Are they coming back tomorrow or are they, I see a man in uniform that just walked up with a white shirt. He could be here.
Would you like me to go check?
No, if he's here for us. He'll come in that side door. Okay, this is painless enough. I'm sorry.
I don't want, can he come in first thing in the morning? And then we'll just hear what he has to say with the additional info we know about allegedly the county having boats? I don't know. I mean, it could just be hearsay. I don't know.
It's not hearsay. It was in the paper
Oh, okay.
or on some document, but I'm sure he can speak to it. He said he would, and he'd bring Dan because I guess they're.
Okay, so bring him in first thing, if you can. I'm sure the first thing to him is 6 in the morning, but tell him 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30.
9:30. So yes.
And tell him to manage the traffic on West Street so we can get there on time.
So, let's just go through this. Would you mind if we just go through and see what's left to do for tomorrow? Okay.
I took the names off of the that we've already done.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely up at bat tomorrow with most of it here.
Except for human resources.
Uh,
I know
did we do human
Central
resources?
Services is done.
we did central services yesterday.
Yes.
Where, are we starting at the beginning?
We have human resources.
Oh, what
Who's
happened?
doing HR?
Damn,
Did I do HR?
where's the assignment list? I never have that open.
Or did we do that one already?
I thought we
That
did.
sounds so familiar.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Okay, so I'm going down, we did, I'm under department, we did fire. We've got, they're gonna check those numbers, remember that, the numbers, okay. And then we have Recs and Parks, that's done, no parking lot issues there. We have the mayor's office, that's done. We have OEM, that's done, needs a font change. Transportation is tomorrow. Okay, so we have transportation. I'm just trying to schedule tomorrow because I think there's a lot.
Planning and zoning,
Planning and zoning. Okay.
ITS, that's
We
me.
did, oh, you guys are fast. We did Office of Law. Okay, so ITS.
Police is done, but we haven't talked about it.
No, finance is yet. If it's in order, it's finance.
So
Okay.
ITS,
Finance, that's you,
that's me.
and then police, that's me.
Finance, police,
Public work.
that's me.
And capital budget and grant.
DBW.
Oh, grants is in there.
Oh,
We
we
haven't
did do
talked
human
about it. so yeah.
resources. So we did city manager. You guys are way ahead of me. Okay, Office of Community Services. We did central services. So since we addressed the challenge in the Office of Community Services, your community grant is really the chart? and anything?
It's community grants.
Okay, and if you have any, okay, good. All right, and then capital budget, it won't be as long because that was a David Jarrow thing.
Are you suggesting these other grants under community services should be part of the discussion?
No,
Adopt a Community, Child and Family Success Grants?
no, I think our
Okay,
focus is just that.
checking.
Yeah, we're looking at Appendix E. That's
Okay.
what's before us, or Exhibit E, or whatever the heck
Okay.
it was called.
That's done.
Okay, and Budget Manager Conley is going to give me 2 pie charts for capital. Okay, you can just put them in at your leisure, it's fine. Okay, capital. Are you guys way ahead of me here? Community grants, that's,
It's me, it's
Yeah.
done. But we haven't
yeah,
reviewed it.
that's all like old, that's all old parameters from last year.
Right.
Right, okay.
And the chart, it's been dropped in.
Yeah, nice. Needs a little bit realignment, but no, no. Okay, and then, I guess you summarize what the recommendations are, or whatever.
The chart speaks for itself. That gives the recommended amounts per organization.
Okay.
Um,
I'm just,
You know what is not in this is the totals.
yeah, to align, it should, to see, to show
Well,
that
it's
we.
above. It's above the chart, 54 awards totaling 423,000.
Yeah, and just to.
So, Caitlin, maybe we should have a
Total line,
total, another line beneath.
yeah.
Wally H. Bates is the last one. And we can total those, each of those columns. I know it says it above, but it will show us how much we spent last year, how much it was requested, how much the committee proposed, and how much the finance committee proposed. Does that make sense?
Okay, and then you're gonna allow Vicki and I to do something. This chart represents, we're gonna insert a chart that represents the categories of distribution, because then you can see
What are you talking about?
community
you've
grants.
written-
See those columns that say categories? So we did a pie chart of those categories based on the Finance Committee's recommendations. We thought it was a good visual, so you can see that, majority of our grants.
Sure, you guys have already done that.
Well, no,
There is a listing, but,
It just visualizes where,
so does it take the finance committee recommendations? Does it take the committee's recommendations? What does is there one
Because
pie
it's-
chart?
it's our report, so it's the Finance Committee's recommendations.
Yeah, I don't, I will use whatever numbers you give me to make that chart.
Yeah.
So are they the numbers that are in the report to date? Which breaks it down by program,
Yeah.
3 nutritional programs, 17 child and youth and families, 2 adult ed. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. So it's taking the last column and then distributed it among the categories. So it just tells a story. It just, why else categorize these? And you can see, we have only, we have this much food, this much. It was my idea.
Yeah, I have no preferences about, I'm happy to be helpful.
Well, I'm trying to get to what this chart is going to
It's
look
a-
like. You're going to have to extrapolate
Yeah,
out
the
monies for each of these in
Yeah,
order
it's
to
just
put them in
it's
a
a-
pie chart.
Yeah, it's just a
So,
tree chart to show, that just helps visualize out of this pot of funding, here's how much of that money ended up going toward Category 1 projects. Here's how much in Category 2, and within Category 1, how much of that was homelessness and addiction, or how much of it hit multiple areas potentially. it is entirely up to you guys. If you like it, if you don't like it, it's your report, but I'm happy
Obviously,
to.
the chairperson wants it. She asked you to do it, so.
Yeah. And so, if you want to just make sure I have the final numbers to plug in, and then I can make something and you can decide if you want it.
Okay. Yeah, I think it came to me during the presentations, and there was so much on recovery or someone other, and I thought, you know, it sort of documents the time that we're in. We'll see what it looks like. If you have a problem with it,
I don't have a problem, but I just like
need
to
to
know
see.
what's going on. I was working on this and you've gone and
Oh, no.
that's fine.
it's-
That's fine.
It's just an extra credit thing. Okay.
Have you finished all of your reports?
Me?
Yeah.
Not on here, but I will get them. That would be you mean DPW and all of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have them today. I didn't plan on them until Thursday. So DPW, transportation, we did Parks and Rec, so that's good. Enterprise, finance, capital projects, planning and zoning, ITS, and police.
You know, somebody has added, maybe that's not mine then. Director Gerald, that's
No,
under.
that's all from last year for capital
Oh,
projects, yeah.
okay.
So it's a full agenda tomorrow, because to summarize, IT, that
You are
shouldn't be too
good,
bad.
girl.
IT, police, planning and zoning, capital projects, finance, enterprise fund, transportation, and DPW. So we'll group up DPW, enterprise fund, and cast capital projects, and then we'll do planning and zoning and police.
So is the expectation that we will work straight through to the work session at 3
Well, our
o'clock?
goal was to finish the input tomorrow, so I don't see any other way but just keep plugging. Do you?
No, I thought we were gonna keep plugging today, but
No, she said yesterday that's why I tried to ask the day before when the hard stop is, and she wanted it at 12:30. And we can't vote on it. No, tomorrow, we're going, if, we'll just keep going.
so is there a hard stop for staff tomorrow?
At 2:30.
Because the city council is 3 o'clock. Yeah, so 2:30 for us, yeah. So we'll get done then,
Okay.
okay? Okay. I thought this was good. Report's shaping up. Thank you. Thank you, Budget Manager Connolly and Assistant City Manager. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. Ms. Conley, Ms. Buckland.
Thank you for sitting through this. So there's nothing for the good of the order, I'll accept a
Move
motion.
to adjourn.
I'll second, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.